Breathing and exchange of gases. In breathing and exchange of gases, we have the first one is what is respiration. Mostly the students are confused about the respiration and breathing. There is some difference between them, but the students think that only the taking air inside and outside is a respiration, but not. It's not a respiration. There is some difference between respiration and breathing. What is then respiration? Respiration is a very important process in which cells or the cells of organism gain energy. How they gain energy? They gain energy by oxidizing or breaking down the food molecules. You know that in a human being's food is the molecules which chiefly used for the purpose of energy. How during in aerobic respiration, glucose, you know very well about every student of the science know that during aerobic respiration, glucose is used to oxidize the or break down with the help of oxygen. For what purposes? Only the purpose of the energy. Then when the energy is released, then byproduct will be the carbon dioxide and water. Both are the byproduct. This one is the important questions mostly asked in medical test. The students which are intended to give such kind of exams, this point is very important one. Whenever the glucose is break down with the presence of the oxygen, what will be the byproduct? Carbon dioxide and the water. Many cells of an organism, you know that we require abundant amount of or continuous supply of oxygen. Why? Because we can perform our functions easily. So without oxygen, we cannot live with just a few minutes or without a few seconds. It's not possible for us sometimes in some conditions. Ventilation and the gases exchange. Gases exchange by ventilation, you can say breathing. Mostly the students are confused respiration and the breathing. What is the difference between them? Actually, ventilation is the taking air from atmosphere to the lungs and back the atmosphere. This is the ventilation of breathing, you say. But mostly students think that the respiration is a taking air inside the body. This is not true. The respiration is a process, chemical process or chemical reactions took place in the inside of our body. But here in the breathing, only the exchange of the gases. That exchange of the gases took place into the lungs. That's why we say that ventilation or breathing. If the ventilation quality is good, then the gases will be exchanged so perfectly, so efficiently. Main function of the lungs in a human beings or in organisms is only the gases exchange. Gases exchange took place in the lungs. So lungs is the important organ, and alveoli is the last part of our lungs where the exchange of the gases took place. This is the important question mostly asked in it, where the exchange of gases took place in the lungs. That one is alveoli. So respiratory related areas of the lungs consist, you can say, bronchioles, alveolar ducts, alveolar sacs, and most importantly thin alveoli. Alveoli, why alveoli? Because the exchange of gases and the blood took place into a alveoli. That's why alveoli is the most important part of our body. This is the most important thing, that you should differentiate the what is ventilation of breathing, or secondly respiration. What the difference between both of them? This is the first thing that you have to learn in this topic, and if you easily can differentiate them, then you can find out what will be the exact questions related between them. Hello viewers, today we are discussing about the human respiratory system, how it functions, what kind of organs and parts of the organs which actually help in the respiratory system of human. This is the important topic in every exams, whether MTCAT, Neet, MCAT, whatever the exams, NCRT, mostly this one is the important one topic. Human respiratory system. Every student who is actually interested in the medical, they have to know about the human respiratory system. Number of questions come from this one. This is the main topic, so therefore let's start. And here is the first one. Human respiratory system is set of organs and tissues. What kind of set of organs? This system carries air from the environment to the lung and back from return from lungs to environment. Air comes from the environment to the lungs and back to lungs from to environment. So human lungs are in a pair. What kind of they are? They are soft, spongy, and highly vascularized organ. Highly vascularized organ means they can easily through to a capillaries transport oxygen, blood to the body. Now located inside the chest, everyone knows that about it. So you can say that the lungs are the primary organ of the respiratory system. They are the most important one. Without lungs, the respiratory system is incomplete. However, the external nostril we have, every human know about it: nose, pharynx, larynx, and trachea. All these are the set of the organs in the human respiratory system which help in respiration. Now human respiratory system is, when we do the anatomically, what we will see there is a two air passage. One is upper and lower respiratory air passages. When we see the upper airways, it consists of nose and nasal cavity, pharynx, while what about the lower one? Lower air passages are bronchial, larynx, and pair of the lungs. But in the respiratory system, but respiratory system start from nose. Everyone knows that. But in the respiration, again I have told you the air enters into the nose, and this one is called external nostrils because there is nose has a nares or nostrils which we call external nostrils or nares. Nose is the only part of the respiratory system which is external one. All other internally nose consists of nasal, or you can say bony partition which separate it. It is nasal septum. Nasal septum will easily separate both of them. In the nose, we know that hairs of the nasal cavity are available. Why these hairs are present in the nose? They have a very important function. What their function is, that one, they trap the dust particle and decontaminate the gas in the air, or you can say the any kind of germs that can easily stick there. That's why their mucus is seen into the nose. Whenever you can say that whenever these chamber you will see in a deeply that there is nasal forward from internal nails to a cavity, that cavity we called pharynx. Nasal go and end here at pharynx. What about the pharynx? Pharynx is a muscular tube which is 13 centimeter long. This question is mostly seem to ask that what is the length of the pharynx? The length of the pharynx is 13 centimeter. Why it is serve or give the path to the respiratory and digestive system. This is the only part where the digestive and respiratory systems are being both common. So this one is the important one, an important point to have know about every student who is interested in the medical. Mostly the students are reading but they don't deeply give thoughts about or understand the lines what they are telling them, what they are actually giving the points about the MCQs, what will be asked in it. They have to properly think about it and understand each and every line, so easily they can actually grab the exams of any kind of for a medical test. External air, here again we come on our topic. External air enters from the nasal to the pharynx, we know about it. Then air move from pharynx, where it will to the upper portion, to the first one is nasopharynx, larynx from laryngopharynx. Now here these are the parts where what then happens. You know that when the air enters from the nose, it will went through the also through the mouth. Whenever our nose is blocked, what? Where the air is coming? Air is coming from the mouth. If the air is coming the mouth, then they will face the larynx. Then visco box. You know that whenever we expel the air such a speed, then the vocal cords move and produce some sounds. Now we know that from pharynx the air enters to the trachea. What about the trachea? Trachea is the main part or main pathway to the lungs. It is a fibrocartilaginous ring, which is you can they're 10 to 11 centimeter long. This one is an important question. The student should remember or know this point, that the trachea is a 10 to 11 centimeter long. So trachea has a 16 to 20 C shape. You have to remember that the trachea has about 16 to 20 C shaped ring, cartilaginous ring. 16 to 20. This is an important question for MCQs, mostly seen or asked whenever the respiratory system is being considered in any kind of question. Provide rigidity and prevent trachea collapse. This is the function why these are in the sheep shape, because they give rigidity and they provide trachea to collapse. They cannot actually collapse like a balloon when the air is expelled. Before entering into the lungs, the trachea bifurcate. Bifurcate, you mean separated into two parts. Two into, you mean bronchi. Two bronchi, singular, right. You can say bronchus is a broader, shorter, and straighter. Right one. You have to consider, remember in the that right one is a broader, shorter, and straighter than the left one bronchus. This is an important point you have to consider. Each bronchi branches into a smaller bronchioles, and after bronchiole will terminate into a alveoli. This is the last stage or last part, you can say, where the entire air and blood exchanged of gases. Now, when we see the 12 pairs of rib from rib cage, 12 pairs. This is the 12 pairs. Provide protection. What it gives? It gives, what its function is to provide, functions is to provide lungs protection, okay, and heart. Not only lungs but heart. Thoracic cavity is attached with intercostal muscle, and whenever you will see that rib cage or vertebral column or sternum, you mean chest, all bony. Thorax and abdominal regions are separated, which we say is diaphragm, and pleural membrane in the thorax region. Pleural membrane in the thorax region is called visceral pleura, which actually wrap up around the lungs, each side of lung, and separate from the thorax wall. Other membrane is peritoneal, okay, it lies inside, and small spaces of visceral and peritoneal pleuri actually are pleural cavity, which is filled with a serious fluid, which serves as a lubricant and give expansion and contraction, help in expansion and contraction. Lungs. Lungs are the main respiratory organ which are present in the humans and animals. Lungs, left and right lungs are both are dissimilar in the structure. Why? Because left lung is always smaller than the right one. Reason is that just because of the heart is displaced towards the left lung, so which occupies little bit the space of the left lung structure. Now each lung consists of the smaller units, which we can or call them lobes. Three lobes are in the right lung, called superior, middle, and inferior lobe. Two lobes are found in the left lung, called superior and inferior lobes. Right lung has three main lobes: superior, middle, inferior lobe. So also left lung. Left lung has two main lobes of left lung: superior and inferior lobe. When we see the diagrams of the lung, here are the pair of the lung. First upper part is a superior lobe. What is the function of the superior lobe? The gaseous exchange took place in the superior lobe. Oxygen enter and removal of the carbon dioxide took place in the superior lobe. This is the main function. Mostly in every exams, what is the function of the superior lobe? Even in any, most of the MCQs are being made or formed during this one. This one is the oblique fissure. What is the function of the oblique fissure? Oblique fissure is one of the important part of the lungs. They reduce the friction first, Secondly, they separate the both parts, superior lobe and inferior lobe. It permit the expansion of the lungs, and the most importantly, which are mostly people don't know, the students, that they help the limit the spread of the infection and even tumor. So this part of the fissure, oblique fissure, is so much important one. It gives the expansion for the lungs to easily take oxygens and so also the gases. And here is the inferior lobe. Inferior lobes does also take part for the removal of the gases, but the main important part is the oxygen is supplied to the blood stream for the body is the main function of the inferior lobe. When we see the right lung, again superior lobe, so also here horizontal fissure, same also middle lobe, inferior lobe, right lung and left lung. Okay, the main functions of the lung is to they provide complete supply of the oxygen to the all tissues. They are the main source, they are the primary organ of the body which only help for the oxygens and carbon dioxide exchange. Withdrawal of the removal of the byproduct carbon dioxide, so also connect with the oxygen and carbon dioxide, both is conversion of the gases. We know that mechanism of gas exchange take place between internal and external body is a main source of organ is lungs. Without it we cannot. Humidifier, we know that humidifier is that one, sometimes you know that in a cold or in a so warm temperature outside, but humidity our nostrils make the temperature same which required by our body. If it is a cold outside, they will make the temperature so similar to our body, and then they will and made or send the air into our lungs. Otherwise we will be affected by the infections. Thanks.